Morning. So I'm sitting here by an ocean of water. Oh, I guess I should show you. You see that? I was gazing out at it yesterday, but I was still coming from the city mode, but so I wasn't totally chilled out yet. And I'm sitting there. My friends noticed that I was in a state of deep thought. I like to think. But I'm in front of this. It was very windy yesterday, and the waves were magnificent, crashing on me like the reef or whatever it is, making these like explosions of water. Ratza v'shev, ratza v'shev. This rhythm, that ongoing rhythm, that there's an energy that's animating that every second. And that, like, to me, was like, that's ratza v'shev. It's really impressive. But I wasn't really like, when I'm on a canoe trip, I'm immersed in nature. I'm like, I don't really think that much. I actually want to be a part of nature when I'm on a canoe trip, because I think that's the whole point of that. So that's like sort of like a, I don't know, what do you call that? Immersion in nature experience, if there's a word for that. I don't get in that mode very often. Like, I do it 5 minutes here in the park, but it's an amazing experience. It's like being in the zone within nature. That's a really amazing thing. Usually our day doesn't allow that kind of immersion in being in the zone and just in your environment. Usually it's not productive, right? It's not going to contribute anything to what your goals are for the day. But it's a very cleansing experience. I haven't done it yet here. I'm not saying that I have. I went into the water this morning though, but it wasn't like my mikvah and I'm just like meditating for 5 minutes underwater. It was like, this is cold. I don't know what's underneath me. There's slime all around. It wasn't too bad actually. It's pretty good. But I mean, I can't see the bottom. I don't know what's there. It could be bricks of cement a foot away. But, so I went in reluctantly and quickly, and it wasn't my usual mikvah experience. But your neshama experiences things even if you don't. So, like, the benefit of streaking across the field into the lake is there. It's worth it. It's interesting. We're sitting in a little canopy here, and there's a bird's nest right here. And every time we're sitting here, we're taking the bird like hovers nearby, and like, I guess I'm gonna listen into his share because there's nothing else I can do. My home is occupied. Is God's home occupied by us? Are we here? Are we in the world? So I wanted to speak about today's Tanya, and then I have an amazing thing that my friend sent me about today, Chof Gimmel Sivan. It's a special day. Did you know that? You would think that of all days, Chof Gimmel Sivan is the least impressive day in the whole year. The Rebbe says this is the most impressive day in the entire year. Okay, I have a Sicha to prove it. Hopefully we'll get to it. I don't know how much time we have. Is anyone pressing me for time? No? Okay, I can keep going. Using someone else's Wi-Fi, right? Good morning. So I have this idea this morning. I was talking to my friend. People don't like their names. Okay, that's why my phone got smashed yesterday. It's cracked now. Why? Because I was trying to play football. Well, no, I wasn't playing football. My friends were playing football nearby. And I was like, there's like this negative association with broadcasting. It's like, what? It's not enough who you're with that you have to broadcast to the world. So that's really weird. And that's what I was speaking about before, about being in the zone with the nature. You cannot be in the zone with the nature if you're broadcasting. I could, but I'm not even going to be I'm going to be somewhere else anyways. So the two things are really at odds with each other. So they didn't like that I'm like bringing you into the scene, because that's an invasion of their privacy. So people don't even want their names mentioned. That is a normal mentality. That's the right sort of normal mentality. But people that have exposed themselves to this medium, that now you can reach other people and you can have friends that aren't nearby at all. You would never be able to meet, but you could have influence on the entire world that way. It's so powerful and so weird. But if you're not into that world, it looks so foreign and so narcissistic that people can't relate to it, and it's worthy of getting your phone smashed. So I'm like, Yeah, my phone got smashed and I probably deserved it. Because that's an invasion of a different mindset where you're just like, I have an existence, I'm in this world, and I go about my life. No. Nowadays you can reach everywhere, so to not do that is a bit of a slap in the face of the everywhere. So you have to have a balance, obviously. And if your phone's going to get broken in the process, you deserve it. Okay? They're right. They're right. So today's Tanya really got me thinking, okay? I don't want to get too much into I don't like to be too abstract. I like to make this tangible. But really that's what the debate that's going on here in today's Tanya. Learn it, but I want to focus on an idea that's brought up in it. It speaks about the debate between Jewish philosophy, Chakira, which I think is also holy. I mean, Ramban great sages did this. I'm not a big expert on Chakira. I'm not pretending to be, but I did study philosophy, so I think I have some general understanding about the direction of philosophy in general, because you have philosophy that exists. The Torah is a complete mind. You have everything in it. There is a philosophy within Torah. I got into a conversation with someone about that. I feel that is 100% godly. It was pointed out by Rabbi Merkur that it required a tikkun. When the Rebbes were learning it, I think it was at Tzemach Tzedek, he was learning this. He had an order to learn Chakira, but he learned, I think, with his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe. They were learning this according to the interpretation of Chassidus. So does that make the Chakira itself not part of Torah? Just because they're now looking through the eyes of Chassidus? I don't think so. I think that's just merely the fact that Chassidus, as explained in Chassidus, is the weaving of all the pardes of Torah. It's the fabric that allows it all to be one Torah, even though it's divisible into different mindsets. The Pshat, Remesh, Drush, and Seid. The pardes of the Torah, different mindsets into how you look into God's mind. That's what it is. To be enthusiastic about learning Torah is normal. Any cynical voice, now you get this all the time. I got this last night, okay? I said, let's delve into the Torah. I'm trying to inspire people. But that was met with such adversity. There's just such a cynicism that just, you have to be the lion. I am not a lion by nature. I'm really not. But I have to get that in me. I have to be that in order for me to be myself. I have to be able to stand up in a world where everybody's got a sneer rippling across their lips at any moment. If they see something that looks a little bit too sincere. I've spoken about this at length before. Look it up. But I want to, therefore, really communicate to you what I think is the enthusiasm of the Torah, is to go into God's mind. So that is what's happening in Tanya. You have Chakira, which I believe philosophy is. Let's see things from the true, real perspective, God's perspective. That is the ultimate truth. We're only going to concern ourselves with that. That is our MO, our modus operandi, to understand the ultimate truth. That's philosophy's goal. What is the ultimate truth? Ein ad milvadei. There is nothing to speak about because there's only God. Don't say a word. That's, I think, at the essence of Chakira. What's the problem with that? That seems like obvious. Yeah, of course I want to know the ultimate truth. Why would I want anything to know about that? That's where the mystic approach becomes very important. Because mystics do not say, my perspective's irrelevant. They don't say that. Why did God create my perspective? Why should there be such a thing as my perspective? Why did God create it? Was it for us to rub it out, erase it, eviscerate it, burn it up like we could burn up the angels with our pinky finger? Look it up. Okay, that's awesome. That's worthy of a whole conversation, but I don't want to do it thinking about it. Check that out. That's really... So the mystic, the KABBALA, emphasizes that our perspective is important. I'm not going to rub it out. I'm not going to forget about it. I'm going to include it in my model of truth, my own perspective, which is intrinsically limited. That's going to be part of the truth. And in fact, that's a greater truth. That's what Chassidus brings out. When you have the both at the same time. That's Chassidus. That's the weave. That's the fabric of the Torah. Being manifest in different ways at the same time. That's what Chassidus allows. Chassidus articulates the ineffable. Okay? That's what Chassidus is. That's the inner secret of God's name. That's Chassidus. That's what my passion in life is. I love Kabbalah. I love the idea of Kabbalah. I have not immersed myself in it, mostly for a language reason, but also for this reason. Because I think a Chassid, if you're going to be a Chassid of the Rebbe, you have to do it the Rebbe's way, which is look at Kabbalah through the eyes of Chassidus. Just exactly what Rabbi Merkur was bringing out from that insight. My point is that if someone does not do that, doesn't make that extra step of realizing the essence of the Torah, and they're just learning Chakira, I think that's Torah, and therefore it sheds light on an aspect of God's wisdom. And in fact, I would say that the words that they write, since it's, we spoke about this before, those are the words of God Himself, verbatim. It's not a small matter. So I believe, that's my belief about Chakira. But anyways, back to what we were saying. The mystic says, my experience of the world, there's waves here. Aren't I a part of it? Isn't it worthwhile to be immersed within nature? Shouldn't I go on a canoe trip and say, God is apparent here just as much as He is when I'm in a meditative state and there's only Eino Levada, there's only God? Is my experience of immersion in nature as worthy as the Chakira of Eino Levada? There's only God. You can't say, it says, this is Tanya, this is how it speaks about in Tanya, this is the lift-off point for this whole conversation. Because it says in Tanya, it's speaking about, does God's knowledge add something to God? According to philosophy, it cannot. Rambam here is not presenting the philosophical view. It seems. Maybe I'm getting this wrong a little bit. I hope not. Because I'm so into this. Hey, good morning, Mr. Harari. Awesome to have you here. If I get this completely wrong, please someone shrug me up, okay? This is the way I understand it right now, but I'm seeing that if the Rambam says... okay, let's just learn those words from Tanya inside. The last words of today's Tanya, okay? I'm just looking it up. Because that's what I wanted to focus on. Let's just make sure... A person sees and knows things in a knowledge that's outside of him, but Hashem knows things of Himself. You go to Hilchos Yesodei Torah, and then he talks about his skimui meichachmei KABBALA. In this case, Rambam, writing Yesodei Torah, is representing the view of Kabbalah. Because it says here, in the commentary here, it says, there are a number of Torah sages who sharply disagree with Maimonides' view. That's what I'm taking to mean Chakira. They claim that no descriptive term may be applied to God. You cannot describe God at all, not even that of knowledge. God has knowledge. He knows that you exist, okay? Does that knowledge add anything to His infinity before He created you? According to what I'm saying is Chakira. It doesn't use that word here. So that's where I may be wrong. But there is this opposing view that's opposing Rambam, who in Hilchos Yesodei Torah, the foundations of the Torah, as well as Kabbalah. So that's why I'm saying this is the voice of Kabbalah. Kabbalah says God is His knowledge. And then the Chakira is saying you can't say God is His knowledge because you're limiting God. God's completely beyond anything to do with knowledge. Just because you have an understanding of a concept of knowledge, don't apply that to God because God's completely beyond that. Kabbalah says, no, God is one with His knowledge. He knows the entire world in a way that's knowledge of Himself. So it's nothing that's composite. It doesn't add anything to God. So there's nothing you're saying that's outside of God that now He's incorporating into His perspective, His intelligence, His knowledge. It doesn't add anything to Him. He knows it because it's Himself. So he is the knowledge because he is the knower, he is the knowledge, and he is the means by which he knows. Okay? That's what I'm saying is the difference between a Chakira and Kabbalah. So Kabbalah, and this is interpreted through Chassidus, of course, has the notion that God's knowledge is something you could define as godly knowledge, but that doesn't make it separate because he has this knowledge of himself. My consciousness is God's expression of him through this idea of whatever I am or you are. You could say the same thing about yourself. Okay. Now I want to relate, did I cover that enough? Because I want to relate this to something else that blew me away, and I introduced it before. Chof Gimmel Sivan. I think it's going to connect, and I think it's really going to connect. And maybe then I'll bring out more, because I really want to bring out more about this Kabbalah perspective. I find it fascinating. I think it's going to come out more from this discussion of Chof Gimmel Sivan today, okay? I'm going to read, it's a very short segment of a Sicha. And guess what? We're going back to Purim. We're going to have, this takes us to Purim. Chof Gimmel Sivan is Purim. How is that? You think that's crazy? I'm going to prove it to you. You think Purim was just a day. You think when I got Adala Yada, I remember a moment that was just brilliant and beautiful dancing on the street towards the Fabringen that I was like beyond. I've recorded that. Okay, that's there. You could hear some sounds coming from me of the Purim mode. I think it's there. It's a Rabbi Wagner Fabringen. I think I have that there. So today is Purim. Why is today Purim? Okay, check this out. It's all inverted. The letters are all messed up, so just bear with me. V'yikru Seifrei HaMelech Be'esahi. It says, I think this is a quoting direct from Megilla, and the Seifrei HaMelech, the scribes of the king, Achashverosh, called Be'esahi at that time, B'chaydish HaShlishi, who's Chaydish Sivan, B'shleisha V'esrim B'ay, is talking about today, 23rd of Sivan. What happened? V'yichtayv, and he wrote, K'chol Asher Tziva Mordechai El Yehudim. It sounds like the king wrote through his scribes. But Yichtayv, it's singular. He wrote all that Mordechai commanded him to the Yehudim. Mordechai was in charge of all the Jewish people now. And he was able to rule them with the authority of the, how do you say, not Malach B'kippah, the one who has dominion over the entire globe. The superpower of the world, the king. So he had the authority of the superpower of the world. And everyone rejoiced. Then it says, the Jewish people were celebrating and rocking. And the fear of the Jewish people was upon all of their others. It doesn't even say, it just says Alehem, on them, everybody. Okay, of how much more so the anti-Semites who somehow managed to survive. I mean, they were all killed. K'seiv, okay. K'seiv Megillas Esther, Shekol Zekara B'tarich Chof Gimmel Sivan. It says in Megillas Esther, the Rebbe says, that all of this happened on the date of today, Chof Gimmel Sivan. We're living Purim. Why? Check out what it means. It's awesome. What does it mean that Mordechai wrote? Who cares? You read words, if you're not enthusiastic about it, it means you don't understand it. So that's why the cynic is someone who just doesn't understand. If you did understand, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva's face was lit up when he had a new teaching that he found. He found a new scroll or a new idea. Their face would light up. That is the most intelligent person like that ever lived. And that's his reaction. So is that a naive person? No, that's a person with tremendous understanding. When you have a tremendous understanding, that makes you the child. That brings out your childlike enthusiasm, not childish, to love the Torah. If you don't love the Torah, you're sleeping in life. Check this out. This is incredible words. Okay, here it continues. Every year on this day, they read, the sages of this king, the scribes of the king rather, read before him the events that happen on the day. That king there refers to Malchus Shel Olam, the king of the universe. And they write, these scribes write before the king, all that Mordechai commands. It's awesome. Think about what that means. Look what the Rebbe is bringing out. The Kai, who does that refer to? Just some guy? Mordechai Shebeder. Mordechai in his generation was like Moshe Rabbeinu in his generation. Is it only talking about the greatest, the only? No. The Rebbe says it's talking about every single Jew. It's not good enough. It's just speaking about Mordechai. It's speaking about Moshe Rabbeinu. No. The Kai refers to Al Kol Echad Echad Yisrael, every single person, man, woman, and child. Am Mordechai, the nation of Mordechai, are included within Mordechai. Every single person exists within the king. You don't have to feel like by you submitting to the king of the universe, you lose anything. The mystics knew this, the KABBALA knows this. You're not losing anything. God is not missing anything. Einon Mavad is intact. Because God, you are precious to God, because you're a part of God. That's why it's not a contradiction. And that's why it's not a contradiction to say when we submit to a power that's beyond us, even a human being, if he represents God in the world, you defer to that person. It's talking here about Mordechai, but we're included within Mordechai, and therefore every single person has the power of the king, of the Mordechai, who has this authority over the entire world. Watch this. Shehu nasa ha-mitzaveh ma'alichtei. He becomes the one who commands what to write before the king. Hainu, meaning shekol echad ve'echad miYisrael, every single Jew. Nasa becomes Baal Habayis. When he's writing, he becomes a master, an owner of a home, a Baal Habayis, al klalos and hagas ha'olam, over the entire conduct of the world, not just the world, that you have a power over it, but the way the world functions. You have a power over. I can control the waves. I used to think when I was a kid, okay, I never said this before. I used to think when I was a kid, I could control the clouds. I remember sitting with my friend, Mike Laverman, when I was like 5, 6 years old. He was very smart. We were in a special program together later on in life. But we grew up together. Like he lived nearby. And we would sit in my backyard on this jungle gym thing and sit on top. I was very philosophical when I was a kid. Very. I used to stare at the clouds and wonder. And he was smart enough to just let me be and do his own thing. And I used to think that I could control the shape of the clouds, and I can envision that. This is before I was like a kid. I didn't change later. Same. I looked at the clouds 20 years later, 15 years later, the same way. With this wonderment and like, do I have control over the fabric of the world? I have a consciousness here. Is it conscious of something that's outside of me? Is the das of Hashem, the deya, the knowledge of something, is that something that's outside of him? Chas v'shalom. Hakira tends to make a person aloof and transcendent and not down to earth. So you can't have friends. You cannot. I can't be normal. If you're always philosophical, you cannot be normal. You're looking at the clouds and wondering if you can control them. The truth is you can. According to the Sicha, you can. Okay? At some level, we're going to see what that means, hopefully. It's awesome. It's really boggles the mind. But I'm just saying here, I wanted to bring out this point, that if you're with a Chakira approach, and you're not focused, you're not ready to immerse yourself in the physical world also, because I can't do that so often. Once a year, maybe I'll go on a canoe trip. Once a day, I'll sit in a park for 5-10 minutes. 20 minutes, I'll just stare at a tree or the sky. And that, to me, is like, I fulfilled that for the whole day. Okay, now I could be... But that's an aloofness that distances you from people. It's difficult for you to relate to people because people are normal. I'm not. I don't think I just. Okay, like there's a pressure on someone. And to be intellectual means that you get stimulated by new ideas. There's a bit of a pressure on that person because time becomes such a factor. You cannot enjoy the moment as much. In a sense, I mean, obviously there's times in your learning when you just get lost in ideas, and then you meditate on it, and you can get lost in that. Obviously that exists. But I'm just saying the idea to acquire more knowledge, which is interestingly a mitzvah, especially for men. You should delve into the Torah. Okay, we don't like the word delve. We should delve into the Torah, yemam v'layla. You should immerse yourself in the Torah. That should be your whole life. So that's a pressure, because there's so much more to know. It lends itself, though, to an aloofness, because your people around you aren't going to look at you like you're in the clouds. Okay, maybe we'll come back to that, but I think I touched on that enough. Yeah, philosophy versus KABBALA. That's true. That's but I want Moshiach to come in the world through nature. I don't care how Moshiach comes through. Let it be miraculous. I prefer that. But I'm just saying, at least it should be through nature, I'm saying. And therefore, Jews should see tremendous success now unfolding before their eyes in everything, so that they don't have to think about that so much. Let it go easier and easier. Look at the psukim that are quoted. I bring them up from time to time about the kings were going to be our craftspeople and our shepherds and the tend our flocks. And I mean, these are talking about the highest people, the ones who survived. They were righteous leaders of the world. Will help us. Our work is meant to be done by others. Okay. At least know that, so when you're working, that you have so much more depth to you that some people don't really care about. Now, okay, I'm going to have to speak a little bit more about this, because I was speaking about sports before, and how it's been, like, I'm always trying to figure, why are people so excited about sports? It boggled my mind. I couldn't understand it. I spoke to my brother. My brother's very into sports, very, very smart, and he's explained to me something that I understood to mean that there's an aesthetic. It's a dance. It's beautiful. So, sports, I think, is an ability for you to say, I know that there's an aspect of me, at least, that wants to be in the clouds, but I want to be in this world, and that means people around me are important. So I'm going to make something important that is totally meaningless. A basketball game is completely meaningless, and I'm going to make that the center of my life, because then I'm going to be able to relate to people. And now I understand it as a sort of sacrifice to be normal, and to be able to relate to other people. There's a kindness, there's a camaraderie is an intrinsically good thing. So there is that, okay? So in yeshivas where they put it down so much and they ridicule it, and I think that's missing the point a bit. Especially when there's so much emphasis in our yeshivas to be this aloof scholar. And that is, people like make that into their leaders are like geniuses that are very aloof, and they don't see the way they gather around them. They're like mesmerized by these people because they're geniuses. It's not because necessarily they're very good people, though they often are. Most of the time they are. But it's because of their knowledge of Torah. It has a halachic basis, obviously. Okay, this is completely off topic. I'm going to read a few of these comments before I start getting back into this. Do you believe in the coming Messiah? Of course I do. What is that supposed to mean? So what were we saying? I did mention Moshiach before. Yeah. Okay, I don't remember exactly. God bless you, the Jewish people. Amen, amen. I thought the clouds were ice cream as a kid. Really? That's awesome. I thought it was cotton candy. Aristophanes. Let the parnasa fall like rain. Amen, amen. So you're aloof, but you also like people, Menachem. If you don't get paid to do it, how can you? Because God has to make a parnasa for you, okay? You have to be blessed beyond your imagination. And I want to say that it should be to you that you see that unfold specifically by saying, I'm going to have trust in Hashem. I'm not going to worry so much about it. I'm going to delegate more, and I try to bring out And I think that will lend itself to blessing, and I want you to see that is the cause of extra blessing in your life, so that you will have more time. It becomes a snowball effect. A beautiful, resonating feedback loop. And it's usually a negative sound, feedback, but positive feedback loop. God sheds blessings on us, and we say, wow, God, you're so good to me. I want to give more back to you. And then your relationship just gets better and better. It's a positive feedback loop. The answer for everything, right? So let me just finish this letter of the Rebbe. It's almost done. I don't feel as rushed, right? I'm on vacation. So it's going to be a bit longer. I would keep going, but I've been speaking about being antisocial and aloof. Horrible thing. But, we all got to recognize. Back to this. So you're a master of the conduct of the world, to the extent that you can control the shape of the clouds. That's what the Rebbe says here. Everything should be in accordance with his will. I'm going to have to post these words, because who would believe them? When I thought as a kid I could control the clouds, on some level I was right. That's mind-blowing. Okay, so at this point you have to have faith. To think that you can control the clouds, no idiot is going to say, I'm going to make like a peace sign in the clouds right now, and it's going to form. Maybe if we really mastered the matrix, and we could do that too, right? But I'm not an idiot. I want to do it right now. I'm going to focus on it. Wait. I focused on it, and I don't see it. Okay? Maybe I should try harder. Do we have that power? Does it mean literal? Everything should be according to my will. I just willed that the cloud should form a peace sign in the sky. It didn't happen. Maybe I should do it for 26 minutes or something, or KABBALA. I should bring some KABBALA ideas in there. Maybe. I believe when the Mordechai Rebbe turned to the altar Rebbe and said, let's walk through the wall. I spoke about that before, but just this aspect of it, metaphysically, maybe it meant they can elevate every cell in their body to such an extent, or every molecule, every atom of their body, to such an extent, the right frequency, they could pass through another frequency. Did it mean that? I don't know. Can you imagine what it is to be the altar Rebbe? I can't. The Mordechai Rebbe? A true Oyev Yisrael. And the wind was blowing. I saw horses and chariots. Okay, that's if we get to the level of neshama. We're going to talk about vision. Today I might have taken a break from that. I wanted to do this whole progression. The ladder. You're talking about clouds. Oh, you were able to control? You were able to see what is normally heard, as it says in the giving of the Torah. And therefore you saw visions coming out of the music, and you were able to make them into the shapes of horses and chariots. Is that what you're saying? Okay, wow. And do you think anybody else would have seen those? So even if that's your experience, which is amazing, I just took out some of the lake from my beard. Okay. Even if you were able to do that, like it wasn't just a dreamlike. When I had one astral experience in my life, and that was a dreamlike state, and I proved it to myself. I spoke about that before. But you're saying that you were able to control the shape of the sounds. Presumably, someone was standing beside you. He wouldn't have seen that. But I think actually, prophecy, it says that about people that have prophecy, then other people can't see it. Oh, and an interesting idea. When the Rebbe walked into a Fabring with, his majestic walk, and he comes to sit down, he does this. He shifts in his seat. I think it was Chaim Miller, my friend Rabbi Chaim Miller, that told me, or no, maybe it was Rabbi Wagner. I can't remember who said it now. But the Rebbe is rising. He rises 7 times, if you want to count how many times the Rebbe shifts in his seat. He rises 7 times because he sees, I guess it would be 6 times, or I don't know how many times, but corresponding to the Rebbe's. I don't know if he's counting from the Baal Shem Tov, the Messenger Magid, or starting from the Alter Rebbe. I think it was, I don't know, I can't remember which one. But he would rise for each of them because they were there in his experience. Now, did anyone else see it? Probably not. So I am assuming that if you had that power, the guy beside you didn't see it, which is interesting. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but it tells you that it wasn't a manifestation in the physical reality. The Rebbe is talking about here controlling the clouds so that everybody could see it. Okay? If I don't understand that, so we have to think. That's why God gave us a brain. Okay. Ve'elu shetayna hamavakshim v'shayli makevan shebeshana zu shachal. Oh, this is a fascinating idea. Check this out. Those who argue and therefore bring about their own they're going to end up being contradicted because they're saying it wrong. And they say, this year, when the Rebbe said this, I'll look up the date later, and they say, on this year, Chof Gimmel Sivan, remember today is Chof Gimmel Sivan, fell out on a Shabbos. How could anybody write for the king at Shabbos today? You tell me I have the power of the whole world? Maybe it's only during the week, and if so, it sort of obscures, obfuscates the whole idea. If I have power of the world, that's every moment the Rebbe is trying to bring out here, I think. It has to be also on Shabbos. A Jew is a king over all of existence. And what that means, I want to figure that out. I want to understand that. I want it. The birdie's still waiting for his nest, or her nest. It's more her nest. Remember I spoke about the birdie before in the nest here that I'm occupying. I'm sitting in the nest. Nestle. What does it say about Bina? It's nestling. Where are my KABBALA people there? Bina nestles in Olam Abriya, it says. Nestles there. So we have power that's constant, the Rebbe wants to point out here. Here is the idea of time here is represented by a day of the week. Could have said maybe a different drush. But here he's saying, the people might argue, if this whole thing, this whole system is dependent on writing you don't do on Shabbos, you don't do any productive work on Shabbos, right? So you can't use that power to be productive in the world on Shabbos when it comes, the Chof Gimmel Sivan comes out in Shabbos. So it sheds a bit of weakness in the Rebbe's position. But the Rebbe anticipates this answer. So obviously, this is a very subtle idea being communicated. It's not a very grub thing. This is Torah, okay? It's the Rebbe's thought. The greatest genius that ever lived, okay? Raise the day as a Shabbos. Father of a mitzvah bagadol kolim Shomayim lachalim is Shabbos. Okay. Oh no. Okay, let's skip the line. Sorry. Okay, so the Rebbe gives an answer here. Since we're speaking about pikuach nefesh, what would a Jew write if he could write anything? If you have a genie in a bottle, don't you ask for like 3 more wishes? Isn't that what you're supposed to ask for? You have the power at your fingertips. Why would you have it on Shabbos? Because a Jew has to control the world. It's pikuach nefesh, the Rebbe says. People's lives are dependent on it. I know someone that's suffering right now, okay? He had a quadruple amputation. Let's say he's not physically hurting anymore. Can you imagine the devastation of that? I cannot. Okay, to me, he's a hero that I try and tap into his schools to communicate to God. Okay? I want to walk with him when we march to Moshiach. We march to Yerushalayim, the third base of English. I want to march beside him because to me, that's my hero. Someone who believes in God through so much suffering, that is worthy of heroism. That's a person you want to follow. Okay? If a person believes in God when they're suffering, that's a tzaddik. The Rebbe says the power to alter the world is even available to us on Shabbos, every time, always. Even on Shabbos. Why? Because it's pikuach nefesh. It's a life and death matter that every Jew shall have the power to control every single thing in reality. That's what the Rebbe says. It's a great mitzvah to write on Shabbos because you're saving a life. It says in Shulchan Aruch that specifically the greatest person of a community should be the one to call the ambulance, to show that this is a tremendous schus, it's a mitzvah gadol. Oh, sorry, it says mitzvah bagadol. I said that a bit wrong, but I gave the same idea. The mitzvah is with the gadol. That's okay. That's the way I interpret it. That in heaven, they desecrate the Shabbos. Lefi bakashasa shall kol Yehudi. Because of the quest, it doesn't say to save. It doesn't say that it's he's using it to save someone's life. It does try to listen to the words. Lefi bakashasa shall kol Yehudi. Because of the requests of every Jew, biglal shezeh bikuach nefesh, a mitzvah bagadol. Since this is bikuach nefesh, you're saving life by doing what? Just because it's the bakasha of a Jew, the request of a Jew. It doesn't say that his request is specifically to save a life. The Rebbe says it's bikuach nefesh, that the will of a Jew, the request of a Jew should be fulfilled. That's the way I'm reading it. Mitzvah gadol, therefore, it's a mitzvah for the greatest person around to be machal Shabbos for it. So that's Shomayim, God Himself has it written before Him. He's in charge of the whole operation, right? It's His scribes writing for Him, so He can have this that He can review every single year. What did you do last year on this day? Did you do something profound, worthwhile of the King's attention that He's going to reread every year? Use our time preciously, that the God Himself is going to review everything you do and cherish everything you do. And that power for that is today. The power for you to determine, it's always today. Chof Gimmel Sivan, the most obscure day of the whole year. Whoever heard of Chof Gimmel Sivan? This is where we get the most power of them all. This is Purim in the middle of the summer. Awesome. Okay, let's see if there's any other words. It seems like this is a request of the person who sent this around, based on the Sicha. He's saying that everybody should tap into this power, use it for worthy purpose. On the coming Shabbos, it says here, and ask whatever is required of you until Moshiach comes immediately. And as it says in the Megillah Esther that the Jewish people celebrated so much, so too we should celebrate also. It says, Kedai lefarsam. This person wrote that, I don't know who wrote this, but he's quoted the Sicha of the Rebbe here, and this is what his closing words are on the side. Beautiful words. It says, Kedai lefarsam. It's worthwhile to promote what he put so much trouble into finding this beautiful piece of Torah. So I'm now spreading that to you. Are you going to do something worthwhile and share that with other people? If you don't like the way I'm saying it, you say it in your words. Ideas are organic and they have a life that exists now more than ever. We have the power to let ideas have the ability to blossom forth across the globe. It's a powerful thing. It makes people feel uncomfortable with that amount of power. Look at the power that the Rebbe is ascribing to every single Jew. We have power at our fingertips. Okay, don't be afraid of it and then immerse ourselves in a world where there's only the raptors and nothing else. Okay, there's a beautiful ocean out there. There's beautiful waves. There's times to be immersed and being in the zone. And there are times, that obviously is a very holy thing. I'm not trying to take away. When I'm on a canoe trip, I'm like, wow, God creates nature and it's not just city. God, there's a softness to God and like this nebulous beauty that exists. It's like the fairy tale imagery exists. And you could, if you're lucky enough to have the time and the resources to be able to take some time to do that, it's a wonderful thing. So maybe just to tie everything up, I should symbolize that by tying up my beard, to make everything come to a conclusion. We spoke about a lot of things here. I'm saying KABBALA is the recognition that the clouds matter. The shape of the clouds is pikuach nefesh. Why? Why is it pikuach nefesh? If I read that right, okay, you could read it another way. That if a Jew is requesting, the guy who sent this was emphasizing that point. It's a time for us to request. I'm saying it's like almost the reverse. It's God seeing the importance of the Jew, the finite creation, and that his even, what's the word, arbitrary, whimsical will. Shape of the clouds, who cares what shape the clouds is? Okay, it's impressive if you can control. Now it's a really fantastic power. Call a covet to such a superhero. I go, when I put my kids to bed, I said, what superpower would you like to have? I like to broaden their mind a little bit to be more imaginative. And they get into that. They like it very much. I say, okay, 3 more questions. Like I ask my kids questions. And they say, no, 10, 100 more. They just want me to keep going with that. Superpowers really relate to that. Dark Phoenix. Okay, that was my biggest fantasy when I was a kid. Dark Phoenix. I know. I heard they're making a movie about that. Okay, that's gonna be hard not to watch, but I'm gonna try and find a way. I'm gonna try and find the Dark Phoenix in the Torah. Okay, if I could do that, wow, that would be really amazing. But I think this is it, really. This is the Dark Phoenix in the Torah. That a Jew can control the clouds. And that's Pikuach Nefesh. Why? Because God wants us to realize that we are important, that his creation is important, that the Dir B'Tatanim is the main thing. And therefore, Chassidus has to direct the Chakira to accommodate the KABBALA. By saying it's Nimnaim Nois. It's a paradox, yeah. It's a paradox how my whimsical controlling of a fleeting material substance like clouds is important. And that's Pikuach Nefesh. Why? Because God wants us to feel empowered. We're the matronissa. If you had a matronissa, don't you want to stand with pride and majesty? God wants us to be that. When I'm davening, it's talking in third person. I imagine Sari Menu wearing Malchus. What does it say about Esther? Levesh Malchus. Dressed in Malchus. In front of Para and anyone else that wants to assert authority in the world. In front of all the Malachim who are much greater than Para, including Para's Malach. Okay, all there, and her just sneering at the world and saying how great Hashem is to this incredible audience. But knowing, Nitzchuni B'nai Nitzchuni, Hashem wants us to take control over the world. He wants us to be impassioned about things and stand up to the cynics and say, I don't care that you're laughing at me. This is my passion. This is what's important to me. Why? Because I have a relationship with God, and God wants me to be, the Jewish people, to be machanissa, a worthy mate for God, a majestic, inviting embodiment of God's handiwork. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining me at the beach. The beach is not really, it's more the pier, looking out over the water. Okay, I should, it would be really appropriate to have a cool down period with everybody since I'm at the beach, and except I'm gonna wanna relax in a way that might, not everyone can handle everything. My son got angry with me for having a cigarette on camera. I said, okay, I'll delete that one. I think I did. Embarrasses me. Shalom, everybody. See what's on everyone's mind. Did we finish that whole topic? I think the cloud imagery worked really well to express that idea of even the most transient, whimsical aspect of the physical existence is Pikuach Nefesh, that we should exert our influence over. Okay, we see there is a way that you can. I said before, who can imagine that's a Dark Phoenix power to be able to control matter? That's incredible. So where can we see that in a way that's more tangible? Okay, that's a worthy question. I'm just going to say the answer briefly because, I don't know, I've taken so much of your time already. Not everyone's on vacation, right? Can't sit here forever. It's antisocial in other respects. So where do we see this idea? Someone should type it, and it's pretty obvious if you think about it. Anyone want to? At least 5 people watching right now. We see it in our davening. Our davening happens to be about our requests. Who's thinking about a request at that moment? It's such a contradiction. It's speaks about in the Sicha about Rosh Hashanah and davening. Why are we asking for requests at the moment of being in front of the king? Why does the poor man ask requests before the king? Doesn't he just want to be with the king? Who cares about your request? You're with the king. Why are we staying there in Shemona Esrei? We're asking things of God. Yeah, can you give me panzerotti pizza and waffles and sushi? That's important when we're in front of the king. Just let me hug the king. What could be greater than that? So why specifically in Shemona Esrei? Talking about our needs. But interestingly, that is the time where we exert influence on the physicality of the world. You know, he makes the rain come in its time, gives produce, it gives success, it gives health. Why specifically then? Because that's when our power is realized. Get it? That's when it's realized. David, come for bring with me. People are so shy. That's when it's realized. Specifically when we say, you know what? It's not about me. I am in a state now. Adnai Svasai Titach. You opened my lips. God opens my lips and allows me to have that audacity to ask for things. It's not about me. God wants the Jewish people to be the Matronissa. He wants Sari Meinu to have the power at her fingertips. That she could sneer at Bara and say, you're nothing. I don't care that you rule the world. You mean nothing to me. God rules the world. You're nothing. And smile after sneering. So it's not you that's sneering. It's Adonai Sfasai Tiftach. Hashem, make me sneer at all the paras of the world, all the pharaohs, King Tuts of the world. I'm going to sneer at them. I don't care what's anything outside of God. I don't care. Just have that. Tap into that. It somewhere exists within you and me. Okay? That's what we have to tap into. That's what we can't be afraid of. So specifically through in Shemona Esrei, the most solemn of time, that's when God says, that now I'm going to shower upon you. I'm going to lift you. I'm going to open your lips and make you ask. Maybe that's another interpretation about Yiblu Sifsei Seichem. They're Yiblu. Hashem's moving our lips. That doesn't make sense. Milamar die. We're trying to say die, and Hashem's trying to get us to say something else, and that's causing friction. Milaymar die, just not say die anymore. Ad sheyibnu sifsei seichem milaymar die, from saying die, because we're saying die, and God wants us to say yeser, not ye. We're saying yeser midai, more than enough, and God's saying just say yeser. Stop. Our lips are getting sore from God trying to say, you stop saying die. I want you to have more. Wow is right. That is wow. I want to leave it at that because I think that just might shed light on the whole thing. But let that idea resonate, okay? I think that's what it's about.